my name is Patty and I will be posting videos about news articles or whatever topics I manage to find in the internet. So if you're into that stuff, please consider subscribing and hit the notification bell for more. So let's talk about the Beirut explosion. Before that, I have here a word bank. If you're new in my channel, I have here a word bank, just list of keywords that is related to our topic for today. The word number 1 will be explosion. It is a violent and a destructive shattering or blowing apart of something as is caused by a bomb, or it is a violent expansion in which energy is transmitted outward as a shock wave. Word number 2, allegations. A claim or assertion that someone has done something illegal or wrong, typically one made without proof. Malice is the third word. The intention or desire to do evil, ill will, wrongful intention, especially as increasing the guilt of certain offenses. And word number 4 is negligence. A failure to take proper care in doing something, and failure to use reasonable care, resulting in damage or injury to another. So let's talk about what happened. So a lot of you know about the Beirut explosion that happened in August 4th, 2020. For those who doesn't know and knows only bits of information, there was a catastrophe happened at the port of Lebanon's capital, Beirut. Quick geography. It is a Middle Eastern country at the western side of Asia. This sovereign state is bordered by the Mediterranean Sea, Syria, Cyprus, and Israel. According to the latest news report, there are at least 158 people were killed in the explosion and more than 6,000 others are injured. But numbers are expected to rise as search and rescue operations are continued for missing persons. So there were local reports that the warehouse contained fireworks in several videos, by the way, that was posted online. There was some colored flashes that could be seen in the dark smoke at the fire just before the second explosion. So there were 2 explosions, a smaller one and then the second one,
the larger one,
carries enough force to overturn cars, damage and shake buildings across the city, and strew debris over a wide area. So videos that are spreading online showed the shockwave of erupting from the second explosion, knocking people down, and cars were overturned in the streets, blocked by debris, and many injured people are forced to walk to hospitals. And did you know that the larger blast was heard and felt in Cyprus, which was 100 kilometers away, and it was also registered on the seismograph at magnitude 3.3.
So imagine that impact.
However, health facilities were badly damaged at the moment that they were most needed. So the St. George Hospital in Beirut, one of the city's most largest hospital, was severely damaged and it had to shut down and send patients elsewhere. Dozens of patients and visitors were wounded by falling debris and flying glass. And healthcare workers are actually worried at the fate of one of the country's main vaccine and medication stockpiles at the warehouse near the explosion site. They said hundreds of thousands of doses used to supply health centers across Lebanon were stored at the tall shelves of the warehouse in the area where the other buildings were also damaged. So the explosion hit the waterfront and near several important buildings. This includes the Grand Serial Palace, where Lebanon's Prime Minister is based, and many landmarks such as hospitals, mosques, churches, and universities worldwide. And the explosion erupted next to the tall building identified as Beirut port silo, and videos also showed that only a twisted metal and chunks of concrete where that warehouse have been, and some of the identifiable as the remains of trucks and shipping containers. So the blast stirred memories of war in a city that has been relatively calm in recent years. The explosions last Tuesday were intentional. They would shatter a prolonged stretch of relative calm in the Lebanese capital. But an Israeli intelligence official denied any Israeli involvement in this incident. So, assessing the toll, a political party waits to learn whether it's malice or neglect. There were reports of appearance of this ammonium nitrate back in 2013. These 2,700 tons of chemical were to be delivered to Mozambique, a company majored owned by the Portuguese explosive Mora Silva e Filhos. Yeah. And importing ammonium nitrate is common in Mozambique, by the way, either to make fertilizer or to use as explosives in quarries and coal pits. The sea captain who once commanded the ship that carried this amount of chemical was actually astonished at this event. Here's why. So we all know last 2013, the ship was carrying 2,700 tons of ammonium nitrate, but stopped at the Lebanese port. It had Russian crew, and reports say it was bound to Mozambique. But it made an unscheduled detour to Beirut as the Russian ship owner was struggling with debts and hopes to earn some cash in Lebanon. But there were legal disputes over the port fees, and shipping company was in debt apparently, and the lawyers representing some of the crew said in 2015 that the ship had been stopped at Beirut port with technical problems. The ammonium nitrate, a fairly common cargo in the oceans, was impounded and unloaded, and the crew had to stay on board for nearly a year, then was released. Its cargo was reportedly transferred to Warehouse 12 following a court order and should have been disposed or resold. There were claims that nothing was done to remove the ammonium nitrate from the port, that even the port's director said their warnings about the danger posed by the stored chemical and calls for it to be removed were repeatedly ignored. And further reports appeared that corroborate allegations that negligence may have been cause of the blast. The source said that the fire started at Warehouse 9 last Tuesday and spread to Warehouse 12, where the ammonium nitrate was stored. Ammonium nitrate is a common industrial chemical used mainly for fertilizer because it is a good source of nitrogen for plants, but it is also one of the main components of mining explosives. But it says here it is not an explosive on its own. Rather, it is an oxidizer, drawing oxygen to a fire and therefore making such more intense. And it only ignites under the right circumstance, and these are difficult to achieve. That it needs to be a extreme circumstance to set off with an explosion. Well, the ammonium nitrate can in fact put out the fire if the chemical itself was contaminated. For example, with oil, it becomes really explosive. Experts say that the ammonium nitrate is relatively safe when stored properly. However, if you have a large amount of this material lying around for a long time, it starts to decay. And over time, it will absorb a little bits of moisture and eventually turns into an enormous rock. This makes it more dangerous because if a fire reaches it, the chemical reaction will be much more intense. So how big was the blast? The blast destroyed the immediate dock side area, creating a crater approximately 140 meters wide. Wow! Which flooded with seawater. So as we can see at the comparing the old Beirut port with the latest photos of the Beirut port, there is a really large crater where the blast initially was. And the warehouse where the initial fire and explosions were observed was completely obliterated, and an adjacent grain silo was heavily damaged. So let's see some videos that I have gathered in Twitter. I've saved this, and credits to all the owners. The video itself is really quite terrifying. Also, I have included donation links in the description box that I managed to compile. Anyway, I hope you all are safe, and I hope you like this video as I try to be informative as I can. All sources are at the description box for you to check it out and want to learn more about our topic. Stay tuned for a new video soon, and bye-bye!